Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is JP Lossman. Let's get started. All right, continuing the series of the draft class recaps, we have now entered the Buffalo Bills. Once again, just to preface this, we are doing this in ABC order. If your favorite team is down on the list, stick around. We'll get to them eventually. All right, so the Buffalo Bills. This is an interesting one. They didn't have a first round pick. They dealt that away to the Minnesota Vikings in the Stefon Diggs trade. So your first round pick was technically Stefon Diggs. And I think most people are pretty happy with that. Was I sad to see him go as a Vikings fan? Sure, of course. Did we get a really nice haul in return for him? Yes, we did. So I think it's a little bit of a wash because I'm also a closet Bills fan. Bills are my second team, which just to put on the record, I got to get myself a Bills hat. I know it's like weird. I only wear like the same four hats in these videos, but slowly expanding the collection a little bit. And there's just some hats I don't want to wear, period. Anyway, weird sidebar. um, so yeah, closet Bills fan. So him going to Buffalo is actually good for me because I can still root for the guy. And as I said, we got a good return for him in the trade. So I'm 50-50 with it. It's pretty good. So the Bills get Stefon Diggs for the first round selection. And then throughout the day, or well, throughout the draft weekend, if you will, we saw them go with a variety of different picks. And I'm sort of going to put on the general manager Beane thinking cap here to sort of go through this because he had a lot of insight as to why he did what he did. And I'll sort of bounce my takes off of that. All right, so in round two, they finally get a selection at pick 54. They get AJ Epineza, the edge rusher from Iowa. I love this pick. This is great. Did he test poor at the combine? Sure. It happens. Was he a very productive player at Iowa during his college time? Yeah, he was. He's got, big man, veteran strength for a young guy. I still think he can definitely contribute from the edge position. A lot of people, myself included, had AJ Epineza prior to the combine going in the first round. I think PFF had him like 20th overall. I think there was another group that had him in the top 30 as far as overall big board rankings. Myself included, with the mock drafts earlier in the year, like around August, between August and November, had him going in the top 10. So really, when you think about it, at pick 54, AJ Epineza is borderline steal. And I think he's going to contribute great on the defensive line. And I really am excited to see him with Ed Oliver later in the year. So I like that pick. Next in round three, pick 86, we got Zach Moss, the running back from Utah. This strikes me as the Frank Gore replacement. I think Devin Singletary was good enough last year with the touches that he made, especially later on in the year, that his role in the offense is solidified. He's not going anywhere. What Zach Moss brings to the table is, vulturing goal line carries. He's going to be, he could even very well be used on first and second down. He's going to be the Frank Gore player to this offense. Now, it's not going to be really a running back by committee, if you will. It's a running back by just what's going on at that moment. And Zach Moss and Devin Singletary as a tandem, I think is pretty underrated just, at this point in the offseason, just looking at things on paper. So I really like Zach Moss for the elusiveness factor that he brings. Maybe not the fastest guy in the room, but one of the more slippery guys in the room who really is consistent with the breaking tackles. And one of the player comps that I saw for Zach Moss was that he could be the next Kareem Hunt if he reaches his ceiling, which is pretty exciting. So I like Zach Moss. I love this pick. Very solid day two for the Buffalo Bills, I gotta say. Next, we move on to round four, pick 128. They grab Gabriel Davis, wide receiver from UCF. Beane seems to think that Gabriel Davis's potential is not even close to being unlocked yet. So is he going to get special teams duties? Absolutely. But they feel like they can mold him into a more complete wide receiver who can do more than just run go routes. So that's an interesting project for them. And he'll fit. I mean, you've got a really nice wide receiver group now. You've got Stefon Diggs, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Gabriel Davis. This combined with the Isaiah Hodges pick, who I'll get to in a minute, seems to think that like there may be some wide receivers who are on notice and, might have a harder time making the team this year, like Robert Foster and the other guy that I like, whose name escapes me at this moment. But yeah, Gabriel Davis, pretty interesting pick. Next, we have the pick that probably took over the broadcast on ESPN for a good chunk of the time after it was made. Round 5, pick 167, you get Jake Fromm, finally off the board, quarterback from Georgia. Look, I could do a whole episode on just Jake Fromm, from what I've read the past couple days. Going into the draft, did I have him as a round 1 quarterback? No, I did not. Did I have him as a round 2 quarterback? Yes, I did. Him going in the 5th round, there was an interesting quote I read from Beane that said that his value at this spot was just too good to pass up. So that tells me that the Bills at least had a round 4 grade on Jake Fromm, which is interesting because it didn't seem like anybody else was interested in this guy unless he was going to fall to the 6th. So, I consider this a value pick. This is good value. You get somebody that's going to compete for the backup job behind Matt Barkley. This is in no way to intimidate Josh Allen. They are all in on Josh Allen. There's nothing outside of something catastrophic happening that is going to propel Jake Fromm into the starting role. So that is safe to say, I think, at least at this point. But the other thing is that, a lot of people said that Jake Fromm's combine performance is what really crushed him. And I have 2 takes on that. Number 1, we all knew the player that he was going into the combine. So I understand they used the combine as sort of a final stamp, on the whole process. Does his testing, athleticism, performance at this area match what we saw on tape, or does it further conflate things? I think, if this is a testament to what happens to people at the combine when you go out and they come away with a worse interpretation of you than they may have had before, it's risky to think about going and participating. But we knew who he was coming into this. There's no real, I understand people think that if he was 6'5" and had a cannon arm, he would be in the 1st round. To that point, Josh Allen was actually drafted in the top 10 a couple years ago because he was a freak athlete. There was a lot of questions about his accuracy, and accuracy is one of the bigger downfalls when it comes to college quarterbacks at the next level, because it's one of those traits that's really hard to correct. So Jake Fromm, I think he's going to have a pretty good career in Buffalo. This is a great value pick by them, and one that could pan out. Either they deal him a year or 2 for extra draft capital, or maybe a different player of need, or he ends up being somebody that comes in case Josh Allen fizzles out in a couple years. So I actually really do like it. Jake Fromm in Buffalo, not bad. All right, moving on. Round 6, pick 188. Tyler Bass, kicker from Georgia Southern. Again, I don't really have any hot takes on kickers and punters. It is what it is. Round 6, pick 207. Isaiah Hodges, wide receiver from Oregon State. This is a great pick, actually, too, I think, because you get a big receiver whose best trait is his hands. Maybe he's got a lot of flaws everywhere else, but they really like his hands and his ball skills. That's probably why they took him. Plus, he's big. So productive wide receiver at Oregon State, and I think, as I alluded to earlier in the Gabriel Davis portion of this video, was that these 2 guys have a decent chance to make this roster. So a lot of the other guys present on the roster who are below Cole Beasley, John Brown, and Stefon Diggs are going to find it harder to stick around. Robert Foster being the name that I've already mentioned. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Hopefully we get mini camps and OTAs to sort of figure this out. I'm really hoping we do, because if we don't, man, this is going to be difficult. Anyway, moving on. Round 7, pick 239, Dane Jackson, corner from Pitt. I forget what the synopsis that Beane had for this one, but in my mind, this is definitely something that they probably could have done up here. Not that they really need a ton of help on defense, but it's always good to get bodies. But Dane Jackson at 239, I think, is a good value pick. It's not a reach. It's not an overdraft, if you will. It's not somebody that they could have had in maybe an undrafted free agency. It's a good, solid 7th round pick if you could put good and solid as descriptions for a 7th round pick. So no problems with it whatsoever. Overall, Buffalo Bills, NFL Draft 2020. They did what they needed to do with the capital that they had. I don't believe that the roster is complete in any sense of the phrase. Like, I think this is a good enough team to get back to the playoffs. And I really like what they did on day 2 with the Epineza and Zach Moss picks. I think that was the best value that they could have got. The Jake Fromm pick is a question mark at this point. It's hard to say what it's going to turn into. I like Gabriel Davis, Isaiah Hodges a lot, but I think their best pick was AJ Epineza. And I'm not saying that just because he was the second rounder. It's just because of the value that they're going to get out of him. I mean, pick 54 for somebody who should have went in the top 20. That's great. I love it. All right, so that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any points, counterpoints, let's talk in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.